think it was 2003 or 2004, on the back of London winning the bid, which by this time it was heating up. We got a massive compulsory purchase order that we weren't consulted on or told about, or there was no communication from the local authority to say that how homes were being compulsory purchased for the Olympic Games. In the beginning, it was kind of one-band man show, which was myself. So I went from working in catering to not being able to use a computer, or understanding policy or process or any of those kind of things. And then I just kind of delved into this is happening, that's happening. And when I bought a computer so I could be in an email group, in that loop of, all those emails that were going on between then it was the London Development Agency, the LDA, the local authority and the solicitors. And we set up a residents group, and I was chair of that residents group. So it sort of gradually begun in that sort of way, and it built up to about 4 years of hell, nightmare really, until they finally moved us in 2007. So we went out and looked for land ourselves. We were trying to identify options, and then about 18 months into it, because the council had run out of, the time was ticking and there was no land, the LDA were really Newham were dragging their heels, and the LDA were trying to get them to find somewhere, an alternative. And they came up with the local park, which is where we ended up being relocated to. But we did put up a campaign not to go there, because it was a shared space with the local community and ourselves. And we were at Clays Lane for nearly 40 years. So there wasn't an issue, there wasn't any tension between the local settled community and ourselves, because there was integration there. We'd been there for a long time. It was like living in a goldfish bowl, because people were exposed. So there was lots of activity of people turning up, official people, people with cameras, people wanting to do research, people wanting to do reports into what was going on. So people were really, really exposed. And I think that the impact was that it did cause quite a lot of mental health issues, because people weren't used to be experiencing that amount of exposure before, and treated in a way that there was no sympathy or empathy towards the community, because they're travellers, they're used to that. And what happened was they ran out of time, because it was all about time, because the local authority were dragging their heels, and they built the site, but they built the site within 3 months, when it should have taken over a year to build or something like that there. And the site, we moved in half built, and to this day we have a site where there's a lot of issues. I think that on the back of that experience is how I become, the more I got into that role of this is wrong, we shouldn't be treated like this. I think that for me it was a personal battle towards the end, and it was very difficult to let go when the battle was over. I thought, we've come a long way, we've got Equality Act, they can't treat us like this. And it was a massive eye-opener. It was so, I stepped into the world of how much discrimination and prejudice there is, and where that prejudice comes from. It's so high up, within government, and it filters down to the ground. It's not ground up, it's coming from the tops. I think where I get my campaigning background from is from my grandmother, my dad's mother, because she was part of that era of the '68 Caravan Sites Act. And my uncle Tom Lee of the Roma Guild and my grandmother were very active in London around that time. And I remember my dad and my grandmother were always speaking about all the things that they did and the lobbying. And the site that we lived on in Newham, the original site at Clays Lane, my grandmother was a campaigner for that site. So she campaigned for that site for her family, and I campaigned to keep it.